doing? You got those crazy eyes. I love it. He's just amazing. I think so. I think we need to put it for everything now. You got those crazy eyes.
Our kids started school this week, so it's been awesome, busy, crazy.
Yeah.
But today I was sitting in a coffee shop by myself eating toast. It was so great. So it was like
I'm sure it was.
Well, he was at work, so that
I was at work, which actually was fantastic. I was so happy because our internet, I could do like a whole other episode just ranting about
we
our
could just
internet.
talk for so long about
Worst internet
that.
ever.
We've been having
here.
a lot of problems with the internet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Chris does for a living.
I work from
uses
home,
it, so
and I depend
that's a
on
little
it,
irritating.
So, yeah.
So you guys don't want to hear about that. That's
No.
boring.
No.
Anyways, today all 3 kids were in school. Chris had a quiet house to work in. I went to a coffee shop. It was great. So now we're feeling a little bit rejuvenated and a couple days late, but we thought we would get an episode out.
Yes.
So, I went to lunch with our dear aunt yesterday.
We don't have the same aunt, like, biologically, in
Oh.
case you're wondering.
No. Even though we do wear the same clothes.
We're not, this is in Arkansas. Apologies to anyone in Arkansas. That's a bigoted thing to say.
Terrible. Anyways, I was at lunch with my aunt and with our aunt. She's Chris's actual aunt, but I call her aunt.
That's fine.
Hi, Aunt Peggy. And she was asking if we would talk about the future with Hunter. And so that's kind of something that we are a little scared of. And obviously we don't know much about. But we do think about it a lot. And I guess kind of what we will share is probably our concerns, because we don't have a lot of positive things to say about the future. We kind of just have a lot of concerns and worries and fears-ish.
There's a lot of unknowns, obviously, in the future. And, it's definitely just like when you have kids, you have something in particular that you imagine before they're born. When we found out we had twins, the future looked great. We imagined, 2 little boys
just super fun,
running around, playing together,
it was like
getting into trouble.
You were just gonna have a little best friend everywhere you went, and they were just gonna wreak havoc.
Yeah, and
high
then
school, everything.
when they were born, and then when we found out that Hunter was permanently mentally and physically disabled, that obviously changes that vision very drastically. And so it's the same thing with the future. In the future, normally we imagine the kids all growing up, getting jobs, raising families, coming to visit for Thanksgiving kind of scenario. So again, it's a very different scenario from what you imagine, what you picture for your kids.
Yeah, we kind of have to think of having a child our entire lives. Because the other 2 boys were thinking like, okay, like it's a countdown. It's like, oh my gosh, we only have this many summers with them. Or when they're 18... they'll go off to college or whatever, and that can be bittersweet. That's an exciting thought, but at the same time, it's like, they're gonna leave one day. With Hunter, it's going to remain the same. Our care for him is going to remain the same throughout his entire life. So that's a little hard to wrap our minds around, and I think it's actually going to get more and more difficult. So far, his care in the last 9 years has gotten more and more difficult. So I can only imagine, as an adult, equipment gets bigger, heavier, more necessary.
Yeah. Well, and he himself, like right now, we both pick him up and carry him. Like,
yeah, he gets bigger.
We pick him up just ourselves from his chair to his car seat to his bed to whatever it is. And, you know, I'll put him on the floor and wrestle with him and that kind of thing. And we can do those things because he's 9 right now.
Yeah, but and he's really tiny for 9. He's tall, but he's very, very skinny, so he doesn't weigh a lot.
Yeah.
Which comes in handy.
Yeah. But 9 is kind of an interesting place to be because that's halfway to 18. That's like halfway to the other kid moving on, doing other things, and halfway to his twin brother, Mason, to being, you know, moving on and doing other things, and halfway to Hunter, you know, being the same in a lot of ways, but a lot harder to deal with because he's going to be so much bigger. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to, you know, keep lifting him up. I'm going to have to do some major squats and stuff, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for us to wrap our minds around our life with him not changing. So much around the other boys is so much of our lives is based around changing. Like Connor's walking himself to 5 different classes this year, whereas last year he went, you know, with one teacher the whole day, and that was scary for him. Now he's doing this. It's a huge change. So it's hard to wrap our minds around things not changing, and then just what our future will look like as parents compared to what, you know, our friends and families' futures are going to be. I'm kind of already seeing in some of our older siblings, you kind of get to be a little bit more free as far as your parenting responsibilities go when your kids are graduating high school and everything. And I don't know what that's going to look like for us, where it's hopefully, hopefully it's not terrible. Honestly, is kind of like some of our thought. It's kind of just the truth that thought goes through our mind, that we're like, we don't want to feel tied down or unable to do, you know, things that we had planned to do in our older age. And at the same time, you know, we know that he's our first responsibility. So there's a lot of balance, a lot of thoughts that roll around in our heads.
And I think we pretty much envision that I think at this point we envision that he'll be living with us, right? Throughout his life. We have, I think, tossed around the idea of, you know, would he go to, you know, more of an independent living facility at some point? I think we've discussed stuff like that.
Yeah. And I don't know how that's gonna go as the years go by, because when he was a baby or 1, 2, 3, I couldn't imagine sending him to school.
Right.
It just felt so weird and foreign, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to let this little guy out of my sight. And now I send him to school 5 days a week. He takes the bus. He's there all day. He loves it. So I'm hoping that as an adult we can find some really great day programs, because he really needs the interaction. He needs the therapies. Yeah. And he just loves to be out. I mean, he was so excited to see the bus today. So keeping him home full-time isn't really a good idea for him, and it's a little much for us. Yeah. So fortunately that works out well. He doesn't like it, we don't love it, so that's good. But it's just, I don't know, we're just hoping that something great is available where we live for him when he's older.
And there's just a lot of stuff that we won't fully know or fully be able to make decisions about until we kind of get to that place. Right now, you know, I think we kind of start to see signs. Okay, he's like, you know, he's 9, he's getting closer to, you know, puberty and all the fun changes that can come with that. And so, you know, there's potentially more challenges along the way for that, future growth spurts and all that. One thing that, in terms of, not necessarily him specifically, but one thing that occurred to me recently was just, you know, the fact that all our boys are getting older. Right now, you know, it can be a challenge for us to kind of navigate around. Okay, we have to, because we all often have to base what we do and what our decisions are off of, you know, okay, can someone take care of Hunter, or can we bring him with us, or that kind of thing. If the two of us want to go get away for a date or something, we have to arrange some kind of, you know, care that can manage all three boys, and that's a little bit more unique than, you know, just managing your average kids. But one thing that occurred to me is as they all get older, you know, Mason will be older and more responsible and able to, you know, kind of be in charge, and we'll be able to leave the three of them at home more easily. And so that will be, you know, something that at least in the not too distant future, hopefully, we can look forward to.
That's kind of our thoughts about the future. I know that's not like super positive. We don't have a lot of answers. We kind of have more questions than answers, but
it's a lot
we'll find out more as we go.
Take one day at a time kind of approach. And
the good thing is his health is so great and he's so happy. Like, that's one thing that I'm like, all right, well, if you had to have a kid with you all the time, he's a great little guy to have around, because he's just fun all day long. All right, well, that wraps it up.
All right, bye.
Bye.